So I'm incredibly driven by the fact that I am just lucky. I live at a time that not a lot of people have had access to the things that we actually have. I always think about, so every morning, it's kind of hard to get up and get going, obviously, and that I feel like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to, you know, work on the reciprocity projects. I don't want to go in and often it's like writing for the whole day by myself. That's my main job, and it's very tough. Like sitting there in your office by yourself, staring at a computer screen. Like for years, I was totally okay with that. Probably for a decade, I was completely okay with that um, during the whole PhD process. But then, it just gets tiring because you sort of keep pushing things away for a long time, and you're always by yourself, and it's not sort of it's not what humans are meant to do um, by any means. But then I sort of think often I start thinking about, but this is the best time in history. And, I want to put this in context. Um, I think about like just let's say I think about the Second World War. It's November the 11th today, so depending if you're in America, that's Veterans Day. If you are in, the rest of the world, it's Remembrance Day or Armistice Day. And, this was the time, and I especially think about, so the First World War was, I mean, it was a big war, and lots of people, it was terrible. When I think about the Second World War that happened, just a short period after, like 20 years after that, um, I think about at those between that and the Spanish flu, um, the vast majority of the world had died. Well, not the majority, but a significant portion of the world had died in the span of 20 years. And um, almost an entire um, eh, like group of people had disappeared off the face of the earth. Um, almost an entire section of the world had disappeared. We still, even to this day, in many parts where this happened, the Second World War, they're still behind. Um, they still have, they're still trying to quote unquote catch up. If you look at scientific progress, um, it virtually it got really harmed from it and completely changed. People don't know that there was like this sort of blip where scientific progress essentially died in Europe and many great ideas just disappeared or shifted to America, and then America benefited, America and sort of the allies in Britain. Um, they they benefited tremendously, but these other countries are almost like permanently behind. Um, they're still. I still feel very uncomfortable. I'm gonna, speak out openly, but I still very uncomfortable about how it all played out. I think about all these kind of things, right? Like at that moment in history, in a span of 20 years, um, it was dark. And if you lived in most countries, most, you would be lucky to live until you're 50 years old. Um, you would be very, very lucky. Probably in most countries, it was more like 40 years old still. And this was less than 100 years ago where this was happening. And and I just lucked out that I was born today and I get access to, cell phones, which didn't have these apps, it didn't have access to the internet like we do now until about 10 years ago. And now I get to talk to people. Now I get to, build something in my free time. Come on, come on, come on, Isabel. Uh-uh. Come on, good girl, good girl, good girl. Good morning, good girl. So I'm just walking the dogs at the same time where I talk about this. But I just think about like even a matter of like 10 years ago, this would have been an improbable thing to do, even for somebody like myself, to be able to build an audience, build a platform. So how I'm actually building this, I can't build it myself. I can't develop it. I've got developers in another country, and it just so happens that, it's more affordable there, so I can, build it. Um, this stuff would have been completely impossible if it wasn't for all of this miracle, all these miracles that we have access to, and not only just like miracles, but also like I think about it's not. I mean, there is stuff that's going on, and it's not a great time in sort of recent memory. But I think about I put this into perspective over the course of the last 100 years. I'm like, this is a glorious time to be around, and we're extremely fortunate. And since that you live such a short lifespan, you better get going with all the opportunities that were given to you and all the amazing things that you can possibly do at a given moment. I just think about that all the time. It's like, yeah, any given day, it's hard for me to get going, and I'm like, wow, what the hell am I doing? But, but I get up and I do it because I think about, what a miraculous time to live, and all because of the people that were before me doing things that were far more difficult, far more uncertain than what I have right now. And I think about how crazy this is. Yeah, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going for a walk with my dogs, and then there's going to be a few people that are going to listen to this. I mean, just think about how amazing that actually is. And I'm going to take advantage of every waking moment of my life, given that we could do that now. I think we can, and I think it's just an absolute miracle. Hopefully, you do too. I think that there's amazing things that we could do. You just have to start doing it. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.